Cheers guys, welcome back. Today I've got a pretty cool video where we're going to be doing a side-by-side comparison between Neville Goddard's State Akin to Sleep and Frederick Dodson's Pure Technique. Both of these techniques are obviously designed to get you into a state where you can more effectively manifest that desired outcome. And they both have similarities. There's also a few differences, so I'm going to leave it to you guys to decide which one you like better. For Neville's, I'm first going to read an excerpt out of one of his books where he describes it, and then I'm going to also read a post which describes it using more easier to understand language. And then we're gonna go into Frederick's after that. And I'm really curious as to know, I would like for you guys actually to leave your comments down below, your experiences, which one you think resonates with you more, which one you prefer using yourself, and any kind of opinions and thoughts down below, because I have my own opinion, but I'm going to leave it to you guys to decide which one you prefer. So let's get into it. So first of all, we're going to read, like I said, this excerpt from 5 Lessons, a Master Class by Neville. So bear with it. Obviously, Neville is pretty verbose, so once we're done with this, we're going to go into the simpler explanation. So, the undisciplined mind finds it difficult to assume a state which is denied by the senses. But here's the technique that makes it easy to call all things which are not seen as though they were. That is, to encounter an event before it occurs. People have a habit of slighting the importance of simple things, but this simple formula for changing the future was discovered after years of searching and experimenting. The first step is changing the future in changing the future is desire. That is, define your objective and know definitely what you want. Secondly, construct an event which you believe you would encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. An event which implies fulfillment of your desire, something which will have the action of self predominant. Thirdly, immobilize the physical body and induce a condition akin to sleep by imagining that you are sleepy. Lie on a bed or relax in a chair. Then, with eyelids closed and your attention focused on the action you intend to experience in imagination, mentally feel yourself right into the proposed action, imagining all the while that you are actually performing the action here and now. You must always participate in the imaginary action, not merely stand back and look on, but feel that you are actually performing the action so that the imaginary sensation is real to you. It is important to always remember that the proposed action must be one which follows the fulfillment of your desire. Also, you must feel yourself into the action until it has all the vividness and distinctness of reality. For example, suppose you desire promotion in your office. Being congratulated would be an event you would encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. Having selected this action as the one you will experience in imagination, immobilize the physical body and induce a state akin to sleep, a drowsy state, but one in which you are still able to control the direction of your thoughts, a state in which you are attentive without effort. And that is key. Then visualize a friend standing before you. Put your imaginary hand into his, feel it to be solid and real, and carry on an imaginary conversation with him in harmony with the action. You do not visualize yourself at a distance in point of space and at a distance in point of time being congratulated on your good fortune. Instead, you make elsewhere, here, and the future now. The future event is a reality now in a dimensionally larger world, and oddly enough, now in a dimensionally larger world is equivalent to here in the ordinary three-dimensional space of everyday life. The difference between feeling yourself in action here and now and visualizing yourself in action as though you were a motion picture screen is the difference between success and failure. The difference will be appreciated if you will now visualize yourself climbing a ladder. Then, with eyelids closed, imagine that a ladder is right in front of you and feel yourself actually climbing it. Desire, physical immobility bordering on sleep, an imaginary action in which self-feelingly predominates here and now are not only important factors in altering the future, but they are also essential conditions in consciously projecting the spiritual self. When the physical body is immobilized and we become possessed of the idea to do something, if we imagine that we are doing it here and now and keep the imaginary action feelingly going right up until sleep ensues, we are likely to awaken out of the physical body to find ourselves in a dimensionally larger world with a dimensionally larger focus and doing what we desired and imagined we were doing it in the flesh. Whether we awaken there or not, we are actually performing the action in the fourth dimensional world and will, in the future, reenact it here in the third dimensional world. Experience has taught me to restrict the imaginary action, to condense the idea, which is to be the object of our meditation, into a single act and reenact it over and over again until it has the feeling of reality. Otherwise, the attention will wander off along an associational track, and hosts of associated images will be presented to our attention. And in a few seconds, they will lead us hundreds of miles away from our objective in point of space and years away in point of time. If we decide to climb a particular flight of stairs because that is the likely event to follow the realization of our desire, then we must restrict the action to climbing that particular flight of stairs. Should the attention wander off, bring it back to its task of climbing that flight of stairs and keep on doing so until the imaginary action has all the solidity and distinctness of reality. The idea must be maintained in the field of presentation without any sensible effort on our part. We must, with the minimum of effort, permeate the mind with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Drowsiness facilitates change because it favors attention without effort. But it must not be pushed to the state of sleep, in which we shall no longer be able to control our movements of attention, but a moderate degree of drowsiness in which we are still able to direct our thoughts. A most effective way to embody a desire is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and then in a relaxed, sleepy state, repeat over and over again like a lullaby any short phrase which implies fulfillment of your desire, such as thank you, thank you, thank you, until the single sensation of thankfulness dominates the mind. Speak these words as though you addressed a higher power for having done it for you. If, however, we seek a conscious projection in a dimensionally larger world, then we must keep the action going right up until sleep ensues. Experience and imagination with all the distinctness of reality that would be experienced, what would be experienced in the flesh were we to achieve our goal, and we shall in time meet it in the flesh as we met it in our imagination. Okay, like I said, that's from 5 Lessons, a Masterclass from Neville. And now I'm going to just give a quick alternative interpretation that is going to be much less lengthy. So this is on a girl named Anna Sace. She wrote this. There was a couple Reddit posts that I have covered in the past, but I like the way that she kind of broke this down. She's like, here's my daytime SATS process. The first step is to choose, so this is step 1. First step is to choose your desire. As an example, let's say that you desire to start your own business and make a good full-time income that way. 2, second step is to work out what is the real energy or feeling behind your desire. This is important for the visualization process. What are you really searching for with this desire? Most people who want to start their business and make an income are after freedom. They want that feeling of freedom they have, that having a business will give them, or it could be abundance that they're after. 3, next, come up with a scene that encapsulates what you'd be experiencing if your desire came true. So for the example of starting your own business that brings prosperity into your life, perhaps you'd be sitting into your new home, bought with the profits of your business, and feeling abundant, or feeling free because you can go play golf in the afternoon rather than be at work. Choose a scene that embodies the feeling you would like to experience. Make sure that it is a scene that shows the aftermath of you having achieved your desire, not a scene that shows you still in the process of achieving it. When imagining, I also like to describe out loud what is happening in the scene. For example, if you're sitting in your new home, make sure you're describing living in it. For example, sitting by the fire and feeling the warmth of the fire and satisfied that you have a beautiful home that is all yours. Or maybe you are working in the garden and planting your favorite flowers, thinking to yourself how happy you are to have a garden of your own. Describe what you can feel, what you can smell or taste, and what you can hear. I like to do this process standing up. Interesting. So that I can give the feeling, e.g. freedom or abundance, a color and see that energy entering the top of my head and coming into my body. I then see it enter all my body parts one by one and meditate on that feeling. I breathe it in and get a bit high on it. Very interesting. I like that. I actually really do like that aspect. That can be a very powerful addition to this process, to imagine that feeling of freedom or that feeling of abundance as a color and entering your body. That is another thing that I mentioned recently. I've been doing meditations by Joseph Gallenberger, who works at the Monroe Institute. And the Monroe Institute, if you're not familiar of it, there are many YouTube videos that kind of talk about the CIA documents exposing manifestation as being real. Well, these documents were based upon research conducted at the Monroe Institute. So just to come full circle with that is where this, it's proof that these types of things work. So she has that written here as her daytime process, which is very interesting. I've never heard anybody doing it standing up, but let's look at her nighttime process. She says, personally, I like to do the process of SATS during the day, but Neville taught people to do it at night just before sleep. The reason is because your subconscious mind is easier to impress when you are close to sleep, and I've had good results from visualizing during the day, so I don't think 100% needs to be. And I agree, it doesn't have to be. It can be done during your afternoon, after lunch. It could be done in the morning. Anyways, so here's her steps right before sleep. 1, lie down and close your eyes. 2, take several deep breaths and then quiet your mind by meditating until you feel a state of deep relaxation. You may need to do this for several minutes or longer. SATS means state akin to sleep, so you must be relaxed for this method to work. 3, create a scene of what you would be experiencing if your wish came true. The scene should last between 5 to 15 seconds. There's instructions for coming up with the scene in the daytime instructions. Remember to experience the scene as vividly as possible with your senses. Make sure that you're not trying too hard when you're doing this technique. If you find you're efforting, you're too alert and awake and you need to relax further. 4, replay the scene over and over until you fall asleep. 5, repeat nightly until you feel you already possess your desire. And yeah, great little breakdown. I've covered other people's breakdowns. A lot of people also, they'll do that progressive relaxation throughout the body. One way of describing that is Vipassana meditation. Andrew Huberman also describes this as the non-sleep deep rest protocol. It's really they're all ways that this is also very similar to Jose Silva's technique. And it is also really just the same thing as also just hypnosis in general. I mean, all of these things are getting at the same thing. The state akin to sleep, alpha level of mind, hypnotic induction, it's all referring to the same process where we relax and are therefore able to enter into this state in which we are more receptive, more suggestible. Our subconscious is now opened up more, right? So those are the versions of SATS. These are SATS. So now we're going to get into the pure technique by Frederick Dodson. So the pure technique is written about in his book, The Parallel Universes of Self. We've been going into some of that content lately and diving into it. Also from an understanding of how, in relation to Neville, I've been covering on the channel lately, how a lot of the things that he talks about is just another way, and it's written in obviously a more modern English, and so a lot of the times is easier to understand, but he's coming from it from this timeline perspective of the parallel universes of self. So just as a preface going into this, the pure technique is that around which this entire book revolves, and this is Frederick Dodson here in the Parallel Universes of Self. While this book contains plenty of exercise and information, the pure technique is at the heart of parallel reality surfing. No other exercise is necessary. PURE stands for Parallel Universe Reality Emulation. It is the vehicle with which we suggest you shift your personal identity and the corresponding life you call reality. It will allow you to shift into the actual parallel realities. While knowledge and use of of the practice would be suffice for you to enter and experience any reality you desire. This book was written to ease your protests of these outrageous claims. Okay, so the pure technique. Step 1, define a reality you would like to experience. Find something you want to be, do, or have that you feel is accessible to you. You must be willing to live up to it. If you don't know what you want, define something you no longer want to experience and make its opposite what you want. The desire may be vague or specific. 2, relax into 0 point. Be silent. Before receiving a new somethingness, we return to nothingness. Call a time out. Sit or lie down, close your eyes, and become silent and relaxed. Ignore any issues or problems of the outside world. Ignore any factual evidence of things unwanted. Gently and gradually allow wants, needs, have-tos, shoulds, coulds, and woulds to fade away. Breathe gently. Gradually allow judgments, labels, expectations, concepts, knowledge, opinions, definitions, and reactions about everything to release. They may still exist, but they are no longer relevant to the silence you experience. How to do this? You don't do it. You stop doing anything except observing and noticing. But observing and noticing is not even something you have to do, keep, or hold, because the observer is always present anyway. Behind the clouds of the mind lies a clear sky of awareness, ever present, ever silent. So while things may come up in the mind, they are noticed with the same neutral ease you would observe clouds in the sky. This does not have to be created. It happens naturally when you rest into silence and allow yourself to become open, unhurried, and receptive. Once an ocean of silence is experienced, and this may take from a few minutes to many minutes, depending on your willingness to release resistance to the here and now, simply enjoy it. 0 point means you are in a neutral observer mode, neither desiring nor resisting. Nothing is being created. Nothing is being decreated. Thoughts come and go, but they are irrelevant. You are not identified with anything. Do not advance to step 2 before you feel completely at ease. Well-being is not the goal of this practice, but its prerequisite. 3, allow yourself to look at the new version of yourself. Once silent, allow an image to appear that represents the version of yourself that is already experiencing the desired reality. This is not so much visualization in the sense of creating something with effort or concentration. It is more a relaxed receiving of something already available or nearby. No effort of will is used. You are not merely imagining something or opening to a possibility, but perceiving a version of yourself that already exists in a parallel reality. You are becoming aware of someone already there. Look at the version of yourself for who the desired reality is already real. 4, enter the new viewpoint. Rather than continuing to look at that version of you as a separate observer, as someone desiring it, enter the viewpoint, energy field, of this person who is already experiencing complete fulfillment of the reality and look as that person. As the person, immerse yourself in the reality. Enjoy it with natural ease, gratitude, and happiness. Experience the image as not only a mental event, but as touch, tactile sense, and emotion. Do not do this to experience the reality later or to experience the reality in the outside world for real, but to experience the joy of it here and now. You may feel a smile come to your face. Rest for a few minutes before releasing and ending the closed eyes part of the process. 5, rest in fulfillment. In the hours, days, and weeks after, simply rest in the new viewpoint, in the fulfilled reality. Don't try to make it happen because you have already claimed it as real. Don't affirm, visualize, repeat, or wait for it. Don't hope for it to come in some future because you have claimed it as already real. Don't even think about it. Don't ask when, how, or when it will show up. Instead, do what offers itself to you throughout the day. This will involve commonplace activities. Daily life continues naturally without neediness or lack. Once in a while, you may want to re-feel the body sense of the chosen reality and enjoy what you have claimed as true, but often, not even that is necessary. Furthermore, you needn't act as if the desired reality is manifest, for that implies separation. Simply cease behaving in ways that presupposes it is not already so. You may refuse to ascribe relevance or importance to events that seem to contradict your chosen reality. Such events may come up, but they are no longer relevant enough to interact with them. It may be the way things are now, but it is no longer the way you are. The corresponding physical manifestation will appear when you stop needing it, chasing it, and looking for it, but are instead willingly and lovingly identified with it. Not for the sake of making it manifest, but to experience its joy in the here, now, and today. Details of the pure technique. The pure technique procedure was described as 1. Be still. 2. Receive and identify with the desired reality. 3. Rest in the fulfillment, let go. So he goes on to say that in some shamanic cultures, this technique is called shape-shifting. Shape-shifting involves giving up your resistance towards something and merging with it so that you totally become it, on not only a mental level, but on a whole body and cellular level. The secret to this lies in not becoming something, but in realizing you already are everything and have only to be one aspect of that. Some shamans practice shape-shifting to become trees or animals. They were willing to give up their armored selves and fully unite with something. It involves giving up the belief that it's only imagination, a belief that separates you from the effectiveness of the technique. While the already given information will suffice to put the technique into practice, it can be elaborated on and looked at in more detail. The mind loves detailed study, and what follows solidifies the mind's belief. We start by breaking down the second step, receive and identify with the desired reality, into 3 further steps, see, feel, and be. Okay, so I'll go into this and then we'll cover it, but I want to give you guys everything that you can, everything that I can offer here so that you can really give this a practice and really draw your own conclusions and comparisons. So this is C. This step could also be called decide or choose, because you are choosing one image from trillions of options. This image is not so much visualized, but received in silence. Yes, in a sense, it is visualization, but it is much more than that. Visualization implies a purely mental event, while we are not only going for a two-dimensional mental image, but a complete body sense, a virtual reality experience, so to speak. Since the average human's attention jumps about randomly like a rubber ball, it is necessary to decide what you really want. Otherwise, there will be nothing to focus on because you won't know what to focus on. The decision is usually made before you begin the pure process, before you go into silence, but it can also change during silence. What comes up in silence may surprise you. In general, you will have had an intention with which you go into the process, and this intention will affect what images come up, even if they are surprising. In other words, know what you are beginning the pure process for, but leave the rest up to receptivity rather than effort. C means that you are looking at something that represents the desire. You are not yet looking as it, but at it. You are using imagination to see your desire as three-dimensionally and vividly as you could see your current surroundings. The problem has been that we as a society have been conditioned to be better observers of what is than dreamers of what could be. We observe our surroundings and take them to be indicators or evidence of what our life is all about. We are conditioned to look at what has been and created and to categorize it as good or bad rather than seeing what could be created. This places an emphasis on outside creations rather than creations made by your inner authority. If your current surroundings and everyday reality seem more real, significant, and meaningful than your inner vision, this is the reason you are not experiencing anything new. Pay attention to what you give your eyes, your outer and inner eyes, to see, because what you give the most attention to becomes bigger. By seeing it, you choose and give your desire a form. You give it space and time. Relax and give your vision time to unfold. You are a visual, visionary being, so see it in all its richness, detail, color, and situation. If you want something to be real, you must view it as real. By saying, well, this is only imagination, you are invalidating something you claim to want or like. Consciousness does not differentiate between real and imagined. But if you differentiate, calling something less solid and significant, consciousness will bow to it. This is very important, but often overlooked part of the reality creation process. So now, feel. This element could also be the third element of be, because identifying with something is accompanied by the body sense of it. Here we differentiate it from be to point out how a feeling magnetizes a thought. Without feeling or energy, a thought remains unmanifested. Another word to describe this step might be trust. When you feel something in your body, you have no problem trusting the validity of it. Emotion activates a thought. Emotion creates a vibration which interacts with reality. Feel what you would feel if you were already in that reality. This would include feelings of gratitude, happiness, excitement, love, peace, or ease. But feel does not only refer to emotions, it also your tactile or body sense. Touch the objects and people in your vision. Smell or taste them. See identifies you with something. Feel deepens the identification. These are not feelings you have to create or produce, but let in, allow to come up. This ability is completely native and natural. Do not view pictures emptied of emotion. If you view something of substance and importance, you feel something while you experience it, don't you? To experience something out there, you must first experience it in here, not for the sake of getting it someday, but for enjoying it now. B, you no longer look at it, but as it. Your viewpoint shifts from observer of the reality to observing from the reality. Act as you would act in that reality. See what you do as this person. Observe from within the image. The image is no longer in front of you, you are it. Feel what it's like to be the person. You are in the beginning stages of the pure practice. Notice the shift and difference between the viewpoints of looking at and looking as. You might see the same things, but there is a discernible difference in the two viewpoints. Okay. All right, so that covers it. Obviously, there's more written here. There's more questions he asked. The next part of this says, does be imply taking action? And then he goes into that entire thing about the action thing. But essentially, there's a lot of, as you can see, there's a lot of similarities between what they're describing. Both Neville and Dodson are talking about experiencing it. And they're talking about experiencing it in all the vividness, with all the sensory details, the feeling, the body sensation, the tactile touch, the smells that you'd be smelling, the sounds you'd be hearing. It's not just visualizing. It's not just visual. It's everything that you would experience if it was really happening here and now. Obviously, they have their own ways of going about explaining this, but there's a lot of similarity. Like I said, the thing that is different is that in the pure technique, you are specifically instructed to first see it from a third person perspective. So you're viewing yourself, right? And I've talked a lot about this in videos that I've posted, honestly, over the years, but the idea of seeing something, because a lot of the times we don't know what something looks like unless we see it. And in NLP, this is also what they do when they're modeling and when they're looking to emulate and to enact a new behavior. And so I actually think this is very, very powerful to be able to see the scene from a third person perspective first and then step into it. And so I honestly, because of that, I really do like the fact that it's first seeing it and then stepping into it with Frederick Dodson. Not to say that Neville's technique is not effective in that way. I think that obviously this is a person-to-person thing. And so that's why I'm really curious to know what you guys think, what your opinion is. Do you like the way that Frederick has broken down the pure technique? Does that feel better to you? Or does the way that Neville has broken down SATS feel better to you? Because I honestly think that there's aspects of both that I like. I really like, even though Neville's language is, much more old-timey, and there's certain things that he says But they both talk about the here and now, feeling it here and now. There's just a lot that can be said for both. A lot of good, positive things that I could say about both things. Now, Frederick does go on to answer this question about doing and action, but I'm not going to cover that in this video. What I really want to kind of take away from this video is that both of these things are all about experiencing it, and experiencing it for the present moment joy, for that present moment satisfaction. And you notice that they both hone in on that fact too, that we don't want to be efforting at all when we're doing this. We want to be in that state where we're almost really just receiving this. Neville seems more on a little bit slightly less from that receiving aspect, where Neville is saying, look, imagine a scene that encapsulates that you've already done this. And the same thing with Frederick. However, Frederick is kind of saying you almost want to receive it. And he's actually giving you some room to say that, hey, like when you're receiving this, be open and receptive to the images that come, because it may be slightly different than what you initially expected or what you initially imagined the scene would be. But again, I want to make this more interactive. So let me know down below what you guys think. Which one do you prefer, and your experiences with both? Because I've done both of these from both of these perspectives, but I'm going to, lately I've been doing these guided meditations by Joe Gallenberger. And so with his process, I've been allowing myself to get into this state using his guidance. And so I haven't necessarily been doing this from either of these recently, because that's what I've been doing currently. And this practice though of doing this and feeling this, because that's what I've been practicing lately, it is really, really awesome, because you're really, really feeling that version of yourself. You're having the experience, kind of a lot like very similar to a dream. When you really get into this relaxed state, it's very similar to a dream. And it kind of is similar to lucid dreaming, because in lucid dreaming, you actually are in control of the dream. And so you're able to control your avatar character in the dream. But like I said, I really like both of their techniques. And I really do think that by studying Frederick Dodson, his ideas, by reading his book, this book in particular, The Parallel Universes of Self, a lot of people that are confused by certain things that Neville might say, or they simply need more clarity, or that could benefit from it being described in a different way, I think that Frederick Dodson's material is very, very valuable because of that. With that being said, guys, much love as always. Drop this video with a like, hit me with a subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.